Hi, I'm Anna Daniels and I'm an associate producer on the 7pm project. I work on news of the day, daily content type material. So I get in generally at 9am, have a meeting with the other producers where we'll discuss all of the news items that are making headlines around the world and Australia that day. And then we'll think about what are the best stories that would fit our show. We think about how we can do things differently to how all the other media might have covered topics. And then as a producer, I'll go off and find the best talent that we can talk to about a story that we've chosen to cover. And just go about researching the story. You're going to have to find the best talent for that segment that you're producing. And that might mean that you make sort of between 50 and 100 calls each day, just trying to find the best person. You have to also deal with time stress very well, because you've got these deadlines that are sort of looming over your head every day with obviously the 7pm is your ultimate deadline when you're going to air. Being creative is a great thing for a TV producer. Thinking outside the square and coming up with ideas for stories that you could cover on the show, and also having a good, again depending on the show you're working on, but for my program it's having a really good sense of news and current affairs and just being aware of what's happening in the world and society around you. So I did a Bachelor of Journalism, majoring in creative writing at QUT in Brisbane, and then from there I applied for an internship with the ABC Radio, which was based in Toowong in Brizzy. I got that internship and I was there for a couple of months, and then they told me there was a job going in ABC in Rockhampton. Worked at the ABC for about a year in Rocky as a radio producer. Worked in Darwin for about 2 years with radio again, so I've primarily been a radio producer. But whilst I was up there, one of my great loves is comedy. So I pitched to the ABC that myself and a friend up there that we could create some funny little sketches. So we created a series called Tough at the Top, which went really well, which was character-based comedy. And from there I just sort of got a real appetite for creating comedy and knew that Melbourne was the heartland for that. So I moved down here, got a job with 774 ABC Radio Melbourne at producing Red Simon's Brekkie Show. So that was just through an interview I got the job down here. So I produced Red's show on radio for about 6 months. But his show starts, as you might know, quite early in the morning, being a Brekkie show. So I was getting into work at about 4:40 every morning, and it was by the end it was just getting a bit too exhausting for me. So I was sort of looking around wondering what to do next, and then I had a friend in at 7pm who said they're looking for people as a researcher. Why don't you apply? So I applied, and because radio production really lends itself well to TV current affairs production, because with radio news and local radio, you're ringing people at the drop of a hat, you're trying to find talent, within like 5 minutes notice. So you've got this bank of knowledge of who to call and where to find people. So that was an easy fit for me to go into the 7pm project as a researcher. And from then I just sort of worked my way up a little bit to be a producer. So that's where I found myself now. Think about a show that you love watching and think about why do you love watching it, and then think what sort of ideas could I bring to a show like that. And then I would go about researching who the relevant producers are that are within that show that you could email and just say, hi, would I be able to maybe duck in and meet you for a coffee if you've got a spare 15 minutes, or I'd love to drop by and just say good day and see how your show works. And I'd say in doing that, the executive producer of the show is probably not going to be the person that you would contact, because they're up here and they're sort of looking at the big picture, dealing with the networks. And if I was going to approach it from a uni person's point of view, I would try and find a producer, probably like myself, who's not actually running the show, but might have 10 minutes free to have a chat with you and just give you some advice about what sort of ideas and stories the show's looking for, and then whether there might be an opening. And another thing I'd say is you might have to start, as a researcher, you might have to start in a capacity, in a role that you don't really enjoy, but it's going to lead you in the bigger picture to other things. So, it's just getting that first in the door. Once you're in the door, then you'll be able to move around a lot more. So it's not impossible, but you just have to be passionate, and that passion comes across, and your enthusiasm. And if you do end up meeting with a producer like me, you could go armed with a lot of story ideas and examples of things that you would cover if you were working on the show that day. So yeah, that'd be my advice.